Am I the a-hole for being surly, rude, and mean at the wedding and leaving early? Plus updates. Original post. I was asked to be a member of the wedding party. Despite this, I was the only person, not only the wedding party, but also at the ceremony, who wasn't allowed to have a +1. This was an outdoor wedding with limited seating, and these people don't give a crap about COVID, so it wasn't about that. I was told it was because my relationship wasn't serious enough despite us being together for a year. That only engaged or married couples were invited, and that they didn't want some random guy in their wedding pictures who I might not even be with later in the future. They don't want to have to look at some random guy in their pictures even though he wouldn't have been in any of the post pictures at all. Maybe just in the background of crowd shots. There have been zero conflicts between them and my boyfriend. And he's a nice and mild-mannered guy who gets along with everyone, so I don't think it was about him personally. I get to the ceremony and find out that literally everyone else has +1. Not just married couples, but there are couples there who have been dating for less time than me. This is when I started feeling surly. I smiled and played my part during the ceremony, but inside I was very surly and angry. We then got to the reception, which had way more people than the ceremony. This is where all the more distant friends were invited, and everyone there had a +1. I was literally placed at a table as the one single person, and everyone else at the table was a couple. Some at the table were other members of the wedding party, but others were random distant acquaintances. People started asking me where my boyfriend was, and I said I was told he wasn't invited. They asked why, and I said I had no idea why. This is when I started letting my surliness show and started acting rude and mean, because I was humiliated. And then I was brought into conversation with the couple's male friend Dean. I was previously told that Dean has a crush on me, and I made it clear I wouldn't be interested even if I were single. Even after that, they kept trying to message me and I ignored him. But now the people who brought me into conversation with Dean were like standing around staring at us and giggling behind their hands, like they thought they were Cupid matchmakers. Dean was absolutely a participant in this. I was meaner to Dean than I've ever been to anyone in my entire life. I was as fully rude as I've ever wanted to be when being the target of someone's romantic interest unwantedly. It's true I don't really know if I was being set up, but I was already furious before that happened. Everyone was silent and awkward. I went back and finished my meal, and as soon as I was done, picked up my purse and left and went straight to my boyfriend's house, skipping most of the reception, cake cutting, speeches, and everything. I'm now being told by the couple that they're hurt and confused why I left so early. I haven't replied. Edit. I didn't want to describe the conversation because people would probably think really badly of me if they saw how horrible I really acted. But screw it. This was toward the end of the meal and some people are still eating and some people are just partying, standing and talking, circulating around the room. I was eating and someone comes over to me goes, "Hey, could you come over here for a second? Someone has a question for you." Already I was suspicious because that was a scenario straight out of the second grade lunchroom. But fine, whatever, maybe it has to do with my bridal party stuff. So I come over and who is standing there but Dean, looking really smug, and a few other people are standing there who are already giggling. So I already start feeling angry. Because again, this is reminding me of the second grade lunchroom scenario, and I'm already imagining how it's going to go. He actually started out with, "Hey beautiful," and I went, "What do you want?" in an angry tone. I think he sensed that this wasn't going to go like what he had in his mind, but he continued what he obviously planned out. So he said, "I just wanted to ask you something," and I said, "What?" He went, "There is something wrong with my phone. Can you help me fix it?" I said, "I don't know anything about phones. Sorry, can't help you," and turned around to go back. And he went, No. What's wrong with my phone is that it doesn't have your number in it." And I just went off, because I already made it clear I was not into whatever this was, and I already turned to leave. But he interrupted me leaving and kept going despite it all. I was furious because I was already angry, plus he wasn't paying attention to how I felt or caring about it. So I felt like he deserved what I was going to give to him. I raised my voice and said, "Dean, F off and leave me alone. No, you can't have my freaking number. No, I don't want to go out with you. I don't want to talk to you." I'm not attracted to you. I don't want anything to do with you. You are not interesting or attractive to me at all. I want you to leave me the heck alone. He was looking down during all of this and not at me. And I said, I want you to look at me and agree you're going to leave me alone from now on. Yes or no? And he said yes, and I said, look at me and say yes. So he did. So I turned around and left him alone after that. I know I humiliated him and I did it on purpose. I had to admit that, but it's true. Even though I raised my voice, it was loud in the room, so only the people standing nearby and one unrelated table nearby heard it. Now for the top comments before reading the little update. Wow. There are layers to this like a freaking parfait made entirely of dog crap in different stages of decomposition, and it just kept getting worse. From the title, I thought you were the a-hole. Then it was like, okay, maybe it's everyone sucks here. Then it got to not the a-hole and kept on trucking into how the newlyweds and Dean are huge a-holes. It just kept on going. Honestly, you're absolutely not the a-hole, and in fact should be commended and not engaging in some fully warranted a-hole behavior of your own. Because I absolutely do not consider rudely rejecting Dean's advances to be a-hole behavior when he is complicit in his setup attempt from hell. I think at the very least you would have been completely justified in not only leaving early, but taking your wedding gift with you because these people are not your friends. I'm still so angry about the entire thing. I wish I had told them to go screw themselves the minute they called my boyfriend some guy I might not even be with in the future. My relationship is one of the most important things in my life, and my boyfriend is precious to me. You need to cut them out immediately. They have already proven they don't care about your feelings by ignoring the fact you previously said you do not want to date this dude. If he contacts you again, get a restraining order because this is some next level diabolical manipulation, and I GTFO this environment ASAP. Which I would find absolutely hilarious, considering they don't want some random guy in their photos when they look at them later in life, but now have to look back at photos with some random girl they're not friends with anymore. LMAO. Not stay home. If you were seriously singled out like that as the only major exception by someone, either the wedding couple or anyone in the wedding party, I probably would have been more angry. Honestly, I was the most mad about how they disrespected my boyfriend in the relationship, calling him some random guy and saying I might not be with him in the future. Like, what the heck kind of way is that to talk about my relationship that's extremely important to me? Not stay home. You were treated blatantly and fairly, and it appears that there was an ulterior motive. You'd be justified if you want no contact with everybody involved in this fiasco. Now for the update. Alright, after making this post, I emailed them back, and I started small just to see what they would say. All I said to start it off was, I was uncomfortable because I was the only one without a +1 after being told nobody but engaged or married couples would have them. Multiple people at the reception started repeatedly asking me where my boyfriend was, and I was getting more and more humiliated, especially since I was seated with 2 colleagues and their Tinder boyfriends. It was humiliating to be the only one singled out, and I was extremely upset. Here's the reply I quickly got, which just meant no +1s for the ceremony. It was perfectly fine for you to bring your boyfriend to the reception, and that's what we assumed you were going to do. That's what we always planned for. The reception being much larger and looser. We never heard from you about bringing your boyfriend to the reception, so we didn't plan for it, but it always would have been fine. This reply is some BS. That was never, ever said to me at all or presented as an option. I would have actually been fine with that as a compromise. Yes, this is a toilet paper answer. She's just trying to cover her butt. Was there an empty seat next to you? Nope. What kind of wedding doesn't account for everyone at the ceremony and the reception? She's been caught out and is lying. It's the weirdest thing I've ever heard. You're right. It's BS. Call it out. If that is the case, why was this option not brought up when I asked in person why I could not bring boyfriend? If you expected him, why did you not inquire as to why he did not RSVP? Why didn't you ask me what his meal choice was? You know very well you went out of your way to make sure he did not attend a reception with me, and you scrambling to come up with excuses at this point is incredibly weak. even with all of that, I would have and plan to let it go if groom's friends, Dina's sneakers, person that brought you to the table, hadn't planned out a scheme to humiliate me in front of their entire table as a way of forcing me into accepting a date with a drunk and exceptionally creepy Dean. Even as I tried to politely walk away, he continued shouting pickup lines at me until I'd had enough. I don't know anyone else's names, but be sure to call them out specifically for their compliance. It is gaslighting, right? That is not the reply I expected, and it made me second-guess myself. Like, wait, did they say something about bringing him to the reception? But no, they didn't. If they were expecting you to bring him to the reception, there would have been a seat for him and presumably would have needed food preferences. Yeah, it seems like they were sort of framing it as blaming me, saying that they expected him to come at first, but because they never heard anything from me, they didn't go ahead and plan for him. Now for the last story. Update. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to pay for professional hair, makeup, new shoes, and stay in an expensive Airbnb for my friend's out-of-town wedding? Original post. Hi all. My 28 female friend, 30 female, let's call her Brooke, is getting married to her long-distance boyfriend, 28 male, for 6 months. For background, I live in a city about a 16-hour drive away from where Brooke lives. However, the groom also lives in a different city from both myself and the bride, somewhere in between both of us. She will be getting married on her groom's farm in a different state about 6 hours away from me. A couple of days later, all hell breaks loose when Brooke's first list of requirements emerge in the group chat. 1. Makeup and hair must be professionally done and paid for by bridesmaid. $200 for both. 2. We must purchase nude flats and we may not wear heels. Around $30 to $50. As she is worried she and her groom will look shorter than us. 3. We must wear the jewelry of her choice. To be fair to her, she said this would be a borrowed gift to us once she decides what look she is going for. 4. Nails must be bare or in the mauve color she has selected for her dress. 5. The dress must be from the local boutique. 16 hours drive or a 3-hour plane flight away from me. It must be floor length with straps. The boutique doesn't ship, but my sister is picking it up, trying it on, and sending pictures. I texted her explaining I'm traveling for the wedding and I'm happy to pay the accommodation, airfare, and for the dress. But that if she was requiring professional makeup and specific non-heeled shoes, that she should pay for the extra things she wants. I explained that I am happy to pay for the usual things, but that my budget wouldn't allow for professional hair and makeup and new shoes. She said she would speak to her groom about allowing me to stay on the farm property, but that the makeup was non-negotiable. Fast forward again today. Brooke texts me and says she will have to renege on the offer she made to me to let me stay in the farmhouse on the night after the wedding. She reserved an Airbnb in the city, $200 a night, for the wedding party. However, she says she will only be paying for the night prior to the wedding. Brooke tells me that she thinks I should stay in the Airbnb she booked, since there is a 2-night minimum and she would like the money back. I politely declined and said I would try to find accommodations in the city for the night after the wedding, since there are some reasonable places to stay. I asked if there would be anyone to transport me back to the city since no cabs or public transportation will go there. Brooke says she will not arrange transportation for me unless I stay in the $200 Airbnb and pay her back for the cost of it. She said I may bring a tent or have to figure it out myself. I'm more than willing to pay for the dress, transportation, etc. The cost of being in her wedding right now is $1,256, including all travel expenses, dress, and extras she's asked for. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. Are you absolutely sure even going is worth it? I'm leaning really hard towards noping right out of this whole bizarre event. Not the a-hole. And all of this for a 6-month-old relationship. Brides have some of the most extreme cases of delusion/entitlement I've ever seen. Long distance at that. Not the a-hole. As someone planning a wedding myself, I would never demand my bridesmaid spend this much on something this specific. She should be footing that bill. I wouldn't bother going to a wedding where I'd have to spend $1,300 just for the wedding. I asked my girls to buy a navy dress on Amazon for $35 and show up. They looked beautiful, and I was giving them gifts. I don't understand the entitlement. I hope Opie knows she's not the a-hole, and I hope she doesn't waste her time and money to fulfill her friend's Instagram photo wishes. This is super considerate. I know the dress and looking presentable is part of it, so that makes sense to me. But it seems so focused on what I look like and how much I'm spending, and not at all in just being there to support her for her big day and having a good time. I do want to see her get married, but it seems like she wants me there for the Insta and that sweet, sweet purple aesthetic. Not stay home. You can't afford what you can afford and have been very upfront. Off topic, but long-distance fiancé of 6 months and groom's farm? Please let this be an example of people who met in farmersonly.com. Haha, I wish. They did meet online, but not Farmers Only. Let's just say this may be a scene out of Deliverance. It's bring your own bottle and cake will only be served to the groom and bride since it's too expensive. And now for the update. Hi again. Since one user said they would summon an internet ghost to hunt me if I was a bridesmaid in this wedding, here's an unsolicited update. After taking a day or two to think it through, I texted my friend and explained to her the following. Summarized. I think she's a great friend and we have a lot of great memories together. I was excited to make a new one on her big day. That being said, I couldn't afford the expenses she required, such as professional hair, makeup, specific shoes, and a chosen Airbnb. I explained that the $200 it would cost to attend is over my budget, and I simply could not afford the things she is asking for. I don't want to put her in a position where she would be compromising on things she wanted to accommodate my budget. So the best thing for me to do was to bow out of being a bridesmaid right now, so she can have ample time to find a replacement. I also explained that I had some concerns with how I was going to get off the farm after the night of the wedding, since she said she would only offer transport if I stayed in the shared $200 Airbnb. She was unsure who else would be staying there. I said I have to be in court for a trial 2 days after the wedding, and while I'm usually very flexible, I couldn't leave that part to chance since my career is important to me. Brooke responded with the following, summarized. She has been very busy planning her move, doing report cards, she's a teacher, and planning the wedding. She felt that since I'm a lawyer, I should be able to afford everything she's asking for. For reference, I'm a very new government lawyer and have massive student debt. And says she deserves a bridesmaid who will meet her expectations and be able to support her. I am not sure how to respond to her, or if I will, but I do think I dodged a bullet. Or at least a trip to Crazy Town. Thank you so much to all of you who convinced me to not attend this disaster. You have saved me $1,200 and 6 months of horror. Am I the a-hole for calling my brother's girlfriend disgusting and refusing to meet her? Alright. I feel like I'm going mad here. I, 27 female, recently had a very unpleasant encounter with my brother's 32 male new girlfriend, 21 female, that has culminated in the family getting dragged into it. We'll call her Anne. He's been with Anne for about 5 months, but I've never met her for various reasons from both of our ends. He said he wanted to get to know her properly before introducing her to us all, and I made a crack along the lines of, yeah, well, 12 years old are known to be unpredictable, which made him sulk for a while too. I probably shouldn't have said that, but the age gap is weird to me. I met up with him a few weeks ago for coffee because we don't have restrictions anymore. The topic of Anne came up briefly, but he just said they were still together and he liked her. So I was coming around to the idea that maybe I should stop being a judgmental a-hole and just meet her. After, I went back to my car to grab my plastic bags and then back into town. For clarity, it's a small town center with a dedicated car park, so it's all in one place. After about an hour, I came back to my car and it was messed up. It had been scratched and a drink thrown over it. But the worst thing was someone had smeared blood in my driver door and literally shoved a used feminine hygiene product in the door handle. It was revolting. I had to go back and buy rubber gloves and bleach just to get back into my car. I got home and I got a text from my brother. He said Anne had confronted him when he got home after his cheating, and she thought I was the other woman and had vandalized my car. He said she was really upset and wanted to apologize to me in person and give me flowers. I said that even if I had been some other woman, that what she did was disgusting, and she was nuts. I said I never wanted to meet her and I expected payment for cleaning and damages. For the last 2 weeks, it's been this revolving door of my family calling me and telling me to let her apologize, me letting them know exactly what she did, and them mostly agreeing with me in the end. Then I'd get messages from my brother telling me to stop telling people what happened, because it was embarrassing and I have some aunts who are mad at me for even telling them, make it make sense, and her family are of course livid with me, not to mention my brother. It's just so much noise in my head that I'm starting to think I should just drop it, because I have repaired the damage and had it cleaned. I've sent my brother the bill but not gotten anything from him yet, because he says I've done emotional damage to Anne. I think it was emotional damaging to have to see what she did to my car, but in the off chance that I've gone mad and I'm overreacting, tell me, am I the a-hole for calling my brother's girlfriend disgusting and never wanting to meet her because of what she did to my car? Now for the top comments. She attacked you, and you somehow emotionally damaged her? Tell him he is disgusting. It was very emotionally damaging to Anne that I told people how she emotionally damaged me by making my car a biohazard. Yes. Have you brought up the fact that you can press charges for this? Or that you didn't explain what happened to people until after your brother and Anne told them how unforgiving you are? Not the a-hole. She vandalized your car in a particularly nasty way. None of that is mitigated by her thinking your brother was cheating. That was just crazy and hinged behavior. You're not interested in meeting a crazy and hinged person, which is fair. This is what I've tried to communicate to him. Even if he was cheating, what she did still wouldn't have been okay. Not only are you not the a-hole, but your initial joke about 12-year-olds was spot on with regard to Anne. What a disaster of a human. Not the a-hole. The age gap is weird as hell and she sounds freaking disgusting. The used tampon is repulsive, and the fact your brother stayed with her after all this says a lot about him. Is he gross also? He's not gross. I mean, hygienically speaking. It baffles me as well. I can't even imagine the logistics of how she yanked it out in the middle of the car park. She just seems unstable, among other words. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to show my brother and his soon-to-be wife what my girlfriend has chosen to wear at their wedding? My male 30 brother, male 32, and his fiancée, female 26, are getting married at the end of the month. My girlfriend, female 32, is my +1. We've been together for 6 months, and she's great. Yesterday, I was at my brother's to help him set up new shelves in the kitchen. That's when he told me his fiancée had a request. The fiancée asked me what my girlfriend is planning to wear on the wedding, because, honestly, she dresses provocatively and she might wear something inappropriate. She asked me if it was okay that we showed her, the bride, my girlfriend's outfit for approval. I'm aware about weddings demanding a certain dress code and that there's a lot of rules involved, but I was a bit shocked about her request. I thought it to be a bit disrespectful, to be honest. My girlfriend is a very beautiful woman who loves fashion. I haven't noticed that she's ever been inappropriate. Maybe she likes the mini dress and a low back occasionally, but it has been in the right environment, like on a night out or a date with me. Otherwise, she's very modest, barely wears makeup. Plus, she knows fashion and she's probably aware of the rules of weddings. I didn't feel the bride's request was okay, so I told her no way that I'm going to ask my girlfriend that. The bride got a bit sulky and didn't talk much to me the rest of the evening. I went to my girlfriend afterwards for dinner, and while we were preparing, we started talking about the wedding. I asked her if she had bought something for the wedding, and she said she didn't have to. She had a lot of dresses, and she already chosen one. Show me, and she did. She's chosen an olive green midi dress with high collar. It was perfect. I texted my brother and soon-to-be wife that the dress was modest, so they could chill. This morning, the bride called me asking me to send her a picture of the dress. Huh? What are you still on about? No, I saw the dress. It's perfect. You should take my word for it. She was raging mad, crying that I'm trying to ruin her wedding. Are you going to ask all 150 guests to send you pictures of their outfits for approval? No, only your girlfriend likes wearing sluttish outfits. I hung up. I texted my brother that my girlfriend didn't need to come to the wedding since the relationship was new. And when they sent the save dates, I was still single, so it just said +1. He texted me back saying I'm a prick. Soon-to-be sister-in-law also texted me calling me a prick. Here's where I might have been an a-hole. I could have just sent a picture to calm them down, but I didn't, because what they're asking is a bit hurtful. And even if I did it behind girlfriend's back to avoid hurting her feelings, it's still disrespectful to sneak around. They should have just trusted my judgment. So, am I the a-hole? Edit. I was asked to include this in my post. My girlfriend wore a very revealing dress on my 30th birthday. That was the first and only time a sister-in-law and my girlfriend met. It was a designer dress, Miu Miu, that cost $4,000 that my girlfriend could borrow from one of her stylist friends. She was so happy because she would never afford a dress like that. And honestly, I was happy for totally different reasons I will keep to myself. That dress is probably the start of this scrap storm. I still can't understand a bride since these are two very different occasions. Not stay home. You did right. As a woman, I would be very offended if someone took a picture of my outfit like that and approved it behind my back. You respected your girlfriend's privacy while attempting to defuse the situation with a bride-to-be. It's not your fault that they disagree. I think the only thing the bride could have asked would be what color the dress is, or if she doesn't want the usual no-no colors, white, off-whites, and black. I agree. Making sure the dress wasn't white or something similar I think would be appropriate. Opie did his girlfriend a solid. I'm glad he appreciates her for her. Oops, bride is jealous of your girlfriend's beauty. Sounds like she's insecure. Should she be getting married? Not stay home. Not stay home, but you should have had a conversation with your brother, asking why she has such low self-esteem that she needs to ask you that. And you were right to call her out on her behavior. She's being a bridezilla. Next story. Am I the a-hole for getting mad when my soon-to-be husband want to change our honeymoon to family vacation? My boyfriend 33 and I 22 will get married in 4 months. We're planning our wedding ourselves and discussed everything including our honeymoon. The first few months ago, he said he wanted to change our honeymoon to family vacation so his parents and my mom can get along and knew each other more. I agreed, so we were researching where to go and for how long. But a few weeks after that, he said he doesn't want to bring his family because his relationship with them is kinda rough. I agreed again and researching again honeymoon plan for just the two of us. Everything went fine until a few days ago I was shopping with my soon-to-be mother-in-law. And on the ride home, my boyfriend asked her if she wants to join our honeymoon. I was shocked and mad, but I stayed silent. After we drop off her mom, I asked him how if my mom doesn't want to go with us. My mom really said she doesn't want to. And he said it's okay and we can just go with his family. It really bothered me, but because we have planned to meet his friend after, I just keep it to myself to not ruin the mood. After I went home, a text him said that I'm mad about that sudden change and ranted a bit, as usual every time I'm angry. Then he gets mad as well because he thinks I'm making a big deal of not so important thing. In the end, we both get mad and giving each other silent treatment until now. I'm not mad because he changed the plan, I'm mad because he didn't tell me first before asking his mom. I still think I have the right to get mad, but also feeling guilty for making fuss about something small. So, am I the a-hole? Now for the comments before reading the little update. Not the a-hole, but did not marry this man. You are too young and the age gap is too big. Worse than that though, he does not respect you and would happily put his family's desires above yours even in the context of a wedding, which should be entirely about the two of you. If he will do this now, what else might he prioritize you in? Think about this carefully. Look at Opie's previous post about relationship problems with a guy for Pete's sake. In that post made 6 months ago, she admits there are age gap related issues, as well as enough relationship issues for her to potentially consider him an ex. She admits that maybe they shouldn't be together but have talked about marriage in the past. All it seems is he might have noticed she was realizing he isn't good for her. He instead proposes and now she feels probably more confused than ever. Opie, there are reasons guys who are in their 30s date women in their early 20s. It is because they are still very malleable to the whims of their partner and tend not to have enough relationship experience to be able to tell what red flag behavior is, manipulation and mistreatment, or feel confident enough to stand up for themselves and know they shouldn't be treated that way. You knew 6 months ago it should be over. Do not marry this guy. He clearly doesn't value you the way he should. Not stay home. I would be more mad about him constantly changing the plan and not consulting you. It's just so annoying. And if I'm being honest, a bit of a red flag. He's forcing you into situations that you don't want to be in, taking advantage of the fact that you can't make a scene in public. Yes, it's annoying. It is not the first time he did it. It happens also to things like the rings at a pre-wedding photo shoot. I usually just accept it and going with whatever he's happy about. He's a really nice man, I promised. It's just some of his flaws. I just feel kinda a-hole as I know there is a better way to discuss it with him and not get mad and ranting. Not a-hole. Why does he think he gets to decide this alone? Maybe the same reason he can't find someone his own age to marry. He needs someone younger to boss around. He is too old for you. GTFO. Source. Have been 22, have also been 33. Update. Hi everyone. I don't expect this is gonna blow up and have so many comments. Thank you for your concern and advice. I appreciate it so much. And I'm sorry I can't read and reply to everyone's comments. For everyone who's asking, I met my boyfriend when I'm already 20. So no, I'm not being groomed. But thank you for your concern. For everyone who's reminding me that what he's doing is red flag, yes, I know it sounds so bad. But I think everyone on a relationship know there's a lot of crap that if you tell everyone just from your perspective, it will sound really bad. It's just one of many things in a relationship, I guess. He's not perfect, and neither am I. I also know my relationship isn't perfect nor ideal, but we love each other and we will keep working on from there. Now, I know I'm not a-hole for getting mad, so I'll talk to him again with more confidence and wish we can make up and be better. Once again, thank you for all the kind and not so kind advice. Wishing you all have a really nice day. Last story. Am I the a-hole for upstaging my grandma at her wedding? I'm 28 female, maternal grandma 71 female. This past weekend, she got married to her boyfriend of a couple years. This is her 5th wedding, which I mentioned not to judge but because it's relevant later on. The last time she got married, I was a junior in high school and wore a cranberry strapless dress that my grandma purchased for me, very much in line with the cocktail dress code. I didn't try to do this, but in hindsight, I wore makeup that was too much for a wedding. I just wore what I would normally do, toned down smoky eye, eyeliner, and a nude lip. One of the granddaughters of the husband she was marrying then pulled me aside and told me I did too much and that I should wipe the makeup off before the photos. I was extremely embarrassed. The only other wedding I had ever been to was when I was 6, so at the time I had no idea of the etiquette and was mortified that I had broken it. I ended up wiping off the eyeliner, replacing the eyeshadow with a nude eyeshadow, and putting on a clear chapstick. For this wedding, my grandma reminded me that I should do a very toned-down look and not upstage her at his wedding. These days, I don't wear nearly as much makeup as I used to, so I went with my daily makeup routine. BB cream and a light concealer, a nude cream blush, some light mascara that was dark brown instead of black, and a sheer/glossy pinky nude lipstick. I paired this with a navy blue dress that I tried my best to match my grandma's request that the dress code is in between casual and cocktail. My grandma didn't say anything about how I looked during the wedding, nor did anyone else, so I assumed I did a good job of making sure she was still on the spotlight. However, today she got some of the photos back from her friend who was taking them. She said that I was the standout in all of the photos, and it was a very tacky move to try to get all of the attention on me when it was her wedding. I apologized and said I tried to be as toned down as possible while still looking presentable. She said a right move would have been to wear no makeup at all and wear a more conservative pantsuit. At the time that I got this call, I was with my paternal grandmother. They do not get along the slightest. Paternal grandma told maternal grandma that it was unreasonable to expect me to dress frumpy to please her, and that she had 3 sets of wedding photos for weddings before I was even born, that she could look back on to be the star of the show if she wanted. This led to maternal grandma telling me she wished to take a break from speaking to me for a while, so I could reflect on my selfish actions. I feel really bad. I didn't mean to wreck a special day for her, and in hindsight, maybe I should have approved my dress and makeup with her before the wedding. So I thought I'd get some feedback here to see if I'm the a-hole / if what I did is selfish. Not stay hall for either of her weddings. You do not owe her an apology. You did nothing wrong. She's ridiculous. It's not dissimilar to people who tear others down to feel better about themselves. That's essentially what she wants to do to her friends. Direct them to be lesser so she feels better about herself. Not on. Sounds like maternal grandma's jealous of how youthful and pretty Opie is. Not stay home. Not stay home. A woman in their 20s wearing no makeup and a burlap sack would upstage a 70-year-old. There is no way to avoid it. She can get over herself. Yep, I'm reading this thinking Granny is mad that Opie exists. In a conservative pantsuit with no makeup? Per request. A 20-something woman is going to outshine any 70-year-old women, except probably Oprah and Madonna. But we can't be sure because they're not 70 yet. Opie, please info. Do you happen to resemble your grandma when she was younger? I actually think I look nothing like this grandma. I look like the spitting image of my paternal grandma and her mom though. It's almost uncanny. If I felt more comfortable sharing photos, I would. Am I the a-hole for telling my mother who survived cancer that she's a failure as a parent when she tried to take credit for my accomplishments? My mother has always had issues. And as a parent, she was pretty detached mentally. My parents didn't get married, and I steadily ended up living with my dad full-time. And because she wasn't in my life very much, I hardly ever even referred to my mother as mom. A few years ago, she was diagnosed with early-stage breast cancer and had to have mastectomy. She recovered well, but ever since she was given the bill of clean health, she has started trying to act like a parent who did everything for me my entire life. And she goes out of her way to talk about such things in public, and people were eating it up. Last week, I met up with my mother and several of her friends for lunch because I'd recently landed a small promotion at my job, and my mother was insistent on celebrating. Well, during said lunch, she of course talked about how proud of me she was, and boasting about her boy to her friends, and how she did so much to make sure I was brought up right. I was internally angry because she was lying through her teeth, but I didn't plan on saying anything. But then she started crap-talking my dad, and the things she was saying were outright lies that painted my dad as the absent and neglectful parent. She took credit for several of the major milestones in my life that she didn't even show up for. I ended up getting angry and pointed out she wasn't there for any of those things. She froze and then laughed it off, then tried to say that I was always a jokester. I ended up saying something like, "How would you know whether or not I'm a jokester? You were barely around when I was a kid. You didn't even buy clothes for me to wear. My dad was the one who was really there for me, and I won't let you insult his good name like this to make yourself look good." She ended up crying with her face in her hands, and her friends ganged up on me. They started demanding I apologize, but I refused and said that just because she survived cancer, it doesn't let her rewrite her own history. She was almost never there for me as a kid. She didn't even attend my high school graduation, let alone even remember what year I graduated. She tried to say of course she remembered, but guessed wrong, it was off by 2 years. I called her a liar and a failure as a parent, and said not to contact me again until she's willing to admit the truth and apologize to me and my dad. I then left cash for my part of the bill with the waiter and walked out. My mother's friends were all yelling at me, and I could hear her crying all the way from the street. My maternal grandmother messaged me on Facebook to chew me out, but I said that I wasn't gonna let my mother rewrite history, and she knows full well what really went on. My grandmother said I could have waited to call her out in private, because now many of my mother's friends are questioning her. I said I really didn't care anymore, and stopped messaging. But now that I've had time to cool off, I'm wondering if I took things too far. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I'm so sorry you've been put in this situation, but you're correct. You don't have to uphold your mother's lies, and you're allowed to tell her how you feel. I think it may be time to limit contact with her though for your own sanity. Exactly. Not the a-hole OP. She has created her own version of history that paints her as the hero and your father as the villain, and she's spreading this lie to make herself feel better. I understand her need to reconnect with you after her brush with cancer. You made a decision to let her back into your life when not many people would have done that after the neglect they faced from that parent. But that doesn't give her carte blanche to distort the truth. She maligned your father in company. So you were well within your rights to call her out on her lies. Don't feel bad about it. In a situation like this, only you can truly know right. But one thing I get, you can sit there listening to the lies and embellishments until she bad-mouthed your dad who clearly was there. So I'd say not the a-hole. Sorry bro, sad situation. It is sad all around, but you stood up for your dad, which was right. I'm sure your mom has regrets, but is expressing that in all the wrong ways instead of coming to terms with her own behavior. Not the a-hole at all. It's amazing how after a serious medical issue, parents like to rewrite history. The thing is, you tried to sit and let her do it, because you probably didn't want to make a scene. But she just had to go and trash talk your dad. Sounds like she wanted to, oh no, your life has been so hard, point. Make it out like she had a hard time raising you by herself, and then after all that and you have been successful, she got cancer. She owes you a massive apology for being absent for most of your life and for the fact that she wanted to show you off as a trophy of her accomplishments after her cancer made her realize she was an awful mother. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my sister to stop projecting her insecurities on other women? My sister and her husband are going through very public marital issues. To give you the condensed version, basically, my brother-in-law was caught cheating on my sister by my wife during an event she happened to be working at. She's a bartender. My wife immediately told my sister, in private, without telling my brother-in-law that she knew, and my sister proceeded to get very angry with my wife, accusing her of ruining her marriage. This culminated in my sister breaking down and screaming at my wife during a family dinner, calling her a cheap woman who likes to break up marriages and a person with no hobbies. My sister's very public rant about my wife led to my brother-in-law admitting, in front of my family members, that he cheated. This, of course, led to more drama. This all happened a few months ago, and as far as I can tell, my sister and her husband are not going to split up. After this whole situation, I decided to distance myself from my family for a little bit. I thought that my sister needed time to process everything, and I didn't think it was fair to my wife to subject her to my sister's rage. I sent a long text message essentially telling her that I wanted her to sincerely apologize to my wife. My sister apologized, and I thought that it would be the end of that. Then my dad invited my wife and I to celebrate his birthday at his place. I knew that everyone would be there, including my sister and her husband, so I was a bit hesitant to go, but my wife assured me that everything would be alright. To start, everything was going well. My sister practically avoided us, which I didn't mind, and my brother-in-law was glued to her side the entire time, so we didn't really face any drama. Everyone was cordial towards one another, and no one mentioned my brother-in-law's infidelity. At one point, I think my wife asked my brother-in-law to move over so that she could sit down. She's currently on crutches. And when my brother-in-law got her a chair and helped her sit down, my sister got extremely mad at my wife for being too friendly with her man. Her exact words. My wife was confused and explained that she just wanted a seat. But my sister wasn't having any of it. She started full-on yelling at my wife for doing what she always does and ruining other people's relationships. My sister has a loud voice, so literally everyone stopped and looked at her and my wife. My wife looked pretty embarrassed and just muttered a sorry, and even wanted to go stand up. But I butted in and told my sister to stop yelling at my wife and to stop acting extremely insecure in front of other women and go for counseling or something. For whatever reason, my sister ran out the room crying after that, and my wife and I left soon after. My brother-in-law texted an apology on behalf of my sister, but told me that I was a little rude and that I should apologize. My wife thinks that I may have been too harsh. My entire family is split, some saying that I was too mean to her. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Text your brother-in-law back and suggest that if he stops sleeping around, that might also make things better. This, brother-in-law has no right to complain. Sure, but brother-in-law isn't really the problem here. Of course, he's an a-hole, but the best case scenario is that this dumpster fire marriage ends, I'm guessing. Some couples have the emotional maturity and honesty to move past an infidelity, but this one clearly doesn't. So, of the two poorly behaved people in this story, brother-in-law and sister, brother-in-law and his infidelity will one day, God willing, not be OP's problem. I'd honestly ignore him. But his sister and her delusions, insecurity, misogyny, whatever you call it, that will be part of his family dynamic regardless, and that's more important to address. After all, she's not gonna call it on her marriage and be able to work towards being less insane until she's ready to put the blame where it belongs. Your sister is absolutely projecting. Keep standing up for your wife since your sister won't let her. Gonna slip a crutches joke in. Absolutely not stay home. Keep the crutches jokes coming. I love leaving some for my wife. Lol. Not stay home. Your sister is killing the messenger and taking out the anger she should be feeling towards her husband on your wife. She's completely in the wrong. Your sister needs some counseling to help her redirect and refocus the resentment and embarrassment she's feeling and to learn how to move past it. So true. I have no doubt if Opie's wife hadn't told about the cheating and it was discovered that she knew, there would still be fireworks because she kept silent. There is no way to win when dealing with crazy. Next story. Am I the a-hole for getting mad over what my daughter chose after she humiliated me and uninvited me from her engagement dinner party? My daughter, 30 female, is a successful engineer. She cut contact with me the minute she turned 18 and only began talking 2 years ago. This has obviously hurt me a lot and made a lot of my family members disappointed in her. Nowadays, whenever I have to talk to her, I have to tiptoe around her and not comment on her dresses or makeup or career or lifestyle. Otherwise, she simply reminds me that she can and will stop talking to me, that the only reason why it started being her father's death. I only commented on those things during her teens because she had a lot of potential and I didn't want it to go waste. It wasn't harsh at all like she claims. Recently, she got engaged to her boyfriend, 31 male of 8 years, and decided to throw a dinner party to her near and dear ones at their own house. She let me invite a couple of my relations. She told me about 5 to 6 people only, but since I've got a lot of people I'd like to share this milestone with, I did go a little overboard in inviting 10 to 13. This clearly was an issue apparently, because the restaurant and their apartment at a poolside allow only 18 to 20 people max at such events, and my relatives were a majority of them, leaving no room for their friends or boyfriend's family. She sat down and made me uninvite everyone instead of giving a simple excuse as to why they couldn't come, and this experience was very humiliating for me. I told her that she was being rude, and she told me that she'd specified how many people from my side were allowed, and that she was very generous that she even let such people to share something joyous with her. After this, she told me not to come to the party and told me to stop ignoring her instructions. I feel disrespected that someone younger made me lose face. It acted as if I didn't know how all these places worked. They would have accommodated worst case. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. You're the a-hole. She stopped talking to you for a reason. To be completely honest, you sound narcissistic. The whole post is about how she's disrespecting you, but it's totally obvious that you are disrespecting her. She gave you a set number of people, and you just didn't follow that. Then told her she was rude because you had to tell your friends they couldn't come. If you invited a number of people she told you to, you wouldn't have had to do that. You shot yourself in the foot and are acting like it was your daughter that did it. You have to take a look at yourself and grow up. OP, you sound like an overbearing mama. It doesn't matter how much potential you think your daughter has. This doesn't mean you are allowed to judge her looks. Judging someone else's looks is not okay. And moreover, we have to love our children because how they are and give them support and love. Nothing else. You're the a-hole. I hope you can see past your narcissistic view that everything you do is good and practice self-reflection. And also, don't count on being invited again. OP is a freaking narcissist. Plain and simple. OP, this event was for your daughter to celebrate her marriage, yet you found a way to make it about yourself and your feelings. Your daughter set a boundary. She was generous to let you invite 5 to 6 people in my opinion, and you overstepped it. She disinvited you. Basically, you messed around and found out. She isn't rude for having boundaries. It's her day. This isn't about you. Your daughter cut contact with you for a reason. Children don't abandon their parents until they've reached their breaking point. You must have been overbearing for her to decide to go no contact completely once she reached adulthood. You're the a-hole, and a massive one at that. The fact that you threw a tantrum about being disrespected by someone younger shows that you aren't remorseful about what you've done. You're just in need of someone to validate your crappy behavior. I agree with absolutely everything you've said, except the term overbearing. I'm 51 and my mom wants me to leave her house early because she doesn't like me driving at night. That's overbearing in my opinion. OP criticizing her daughter's dress, makeup, career, or lifestyle while she was in vulnerable teenage years, and then completely disregarding her daughter's rules for her party is downright narcissistic. And you factually stated. OP is a major a-hole and it's no wonder why her daughter went no contact. Last story. Am I the a-hole for shredding my daughter's coloring book? I have 3 daughters. Alyssa, 18, Tessa, 16, and Jenna, 14. Alyssa and I have a great relationship. We rarely argue. She drives her sisters around. She works almost full-time while in school. The only problem is she can be unreliable. If you ask her to get groceries and be home by 5, she'll call you at 6:30 and ask what you wanted her to do. And she doesn't do housework without being reminded 5 times. She has ADHD though, so that explains it. Jenna loves to argue. She argues with my husband a few times a week. She's a pretty good kid otherwise. She's a straight-A student. She played soccer and is playing softball, and she helps around the house more than both of her sisters combined. Tessa is complicated. When she applies herself, she gets straight A's extremely easy. The problem is, she never does her homework, so she usually has B's and C's. She and I have similar hobbies, and both my husband and I love talking to her when she's in a good mood. We don't fight often, but when we do, it's very dramatic. She's been insisting that she has ADHD or some other problem since she was around 11 because she can't focus. But my husband and I think she's just trying to get shorter assignments and extra time like Alyssa. We got into an argument the other day because she has IBD and gets infusions every 6 weeks. She is very strict about never pushing it back for any reason. After we tried to push it back once because we were going to be in another state, and she got sick for 6 weeks and 3 days. It was 2 years ago and she's healthier now, but she still refuses to push it back. Her next infusion is scheduled for April 1, but we're going to be on a vacation from March 30 to April 4, so I scheduled her infusion for March 8. Her doctor approved it, but she started yelling at me about how last time I pushed her infusion back, she got sick and she isn't going to risk her health for my vacation. It became a very long and drawn-out argument. When I picked her up from school, she put her headphones on so she wouldn't have to talk to me. Then she locked herself in her room. She had borrowed my laptop, so I looked in her backpack to see if she still had it. While I was looking, I saw passes from the school therapist. Tessa knows I don't want her talking to those therapists because those people will find any reason to call CPS. Tess admitted that she'd been seeing the therapist once a week for 2 years. She wouldn't look up from her coloring book, so I took it. And she started crying and asked me to give it back because her therapist gave it to her for when she was having a bad day. I ended up shredding it, and she hasn't left her room except for school and hasn't spoken since. So I wanted to know if I was the a-hole. You're the a-hole. You neglected your kid. You don't want her to seek help. You are aware her seeking help might get you in trouble. You didn't ask her while making a decision on her health. She is overreacting because she had a bad experience. It is very clear. You ruined a book that was probably calming her. You don't think ADHD or whatever is an issue. With this consistency, you might not have a future relationship with your daughters. I can't imagine ever wanting to have a relationship with someone who intentionally destroyed something artistic I was working on. That's like taking a piece of someone's soul and lighting it on fire. My dad called bullet journaling a waste of time when I was monitoring my medication, symptoms, and overall health from 3 different autoimmune disorders. Haven't been able to pick it up over a year later, and I'm 24. I hate this type of parent.
Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay for my niece's college after she publicly humiliated me? I, 45 female, am child-free by choice, but have always been close to my brother, 47 male, and his daughter, Emily, 18 female. Over the years, I've saved up a decent amount of money, and I offered to help pay for Emily's college when the time came. She's a smart kid, and I wanted to give her opportunities I never had growing up. Everything was fine until last month. I was invited to Emily's high school graduation party, which was a big deal in our family. During the party, Emily gave a speech thanking everyone for their support. She thanked her parents, her grandparents, even her friends. Then she paused, looked at me and said, "And a big thanks to Aunt, me, for not having kids, so she could spoil me like I'm hers. Must be nice having all that extra money and no responsibilities." The entire room laughed, and I froze. I could feel everyone looking at me, and all I could do was smile awkwardly. I've heard jokes about being child-free before, but this felt cruel and unnecessary, especially since I've sacrificed a lot to save for her future. My brother and sister-in-law laughed too, which hurt even more. After the party, I confronted Emily privately. She rolled her eyes and said it was just a joke, and I needed to lighten up. My brother brushed it off, saying, "Teenagers can be dumb. Don't take it personally." I've spent weeks thinking about this, and I've decided to withdraw my offer to pay for her college. I feel like she doesn't respect me or the efforts I've made to support her. When I told my brother, he blew up at me, calling me selfish and accusing me of punishing Emily for one harmless joke. Emily hasn't apologized, and now I'm questioning if I'm being too harsh. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. When they demand the money again, tell them you have bought yourself a holiday home and the money is gone. When they complain about you letting them down, tell them it's one of the perks of having no kids. You have no responsibilities to anyone. Not the a-hole. No. When they ask for the money again, just simply say, "I didn't mean it. I was always only joking about the college fund." As if I'd pay for my brother's kids' education. That's his responsibility. She hasn't apologized, which means you are not being too harsh. I understand a teenager's stupid joke scenario, but if she does not apologize and repent for humiliating you, even if that was not her intention, then you still are not harsh enough. Do not cave. Have some self-respect and teach this kid and her parents that actions have consequences. Let them deal with them. Grow a spine. Driving under influence might be a teenager's stupid mistake, but after the accident and the innocent people unalived, the consequences will not disappear, just because you are a stupid teenager making a mistake. Life does not work like that. I feel the same. It's the lack of apology that seals that OP is being disrespected. It's not hard to apologize when something said is intended differently than it's heard. Niece is young, but when she realized she'd hurt her aunt, an apology was the right thing. Or even a conversation about what she said and what she meant. It's not hard to apologize when something said is intended differently than it's heard. Exactly. I wanted to believe at first she tried a joke but failed miserably. Now I only see disrespect and disdain for her aunt's lifestyle. If so, she does not deserve OP's money and time. Emily is parroting the hateful BS your brother has been talking about you. Not the a-hole. Spend it on yourself. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom she'll regret picking her husband over her children? I, 23 female, and my husband, 22 male, moved in with my mom over the summer to help my mom with her bills and to help take care of my 3 younger siblings. The main reason for this move was because I did not want her to get back with her boyfriend that she had been dating on and off for the past 7 to 8 years. Not long after we moved in, she starts talking to him again after repeatedly telling me she was never going to get back together with him. She then goes on to marry him, and since then has taken on this mentality that she is his wife and has responsibilities towards him, so she has to be with him 24/7. Which in turn meant to me and my siblings that we would see her less, because he does not live with us. Ever since she got married, she goes directly to him after work, and the only time my siblings see her is in the mornings when she takes them to school. She's not even home during the weekends. Recently this past weekend, me and her ended up arguing over text, because my siblings missed their mom and wanted to see her. She then chooses to, instead of coming to see her kids, to call them and tell them that she is too busy to see them, and that when she was there, that all they did was play video games. But now that she is with her husband, they suddenly miss her and want to spend time with her. This made my siblings sad, which naturally made me step in and tell her off. I told her she can't be serious right now, and that obviously her children are going to miss her. That even though they might have a roof over their heads and food, that doesn't mean they don't still need their mother's presence more than just a few minutes in the morning when they're going to school. I told her she can't seriously be picking a man that has literally shown he does not care about her over her children who do love her. She responded by telling me the same thing she told my siblings, that when she was with us, that my siblings didn't appreciate her and that they just spend their time playing games. I'm like, be so for real. You're resenting them as if they're not literally children. Where's that energy with that man that has literally done nothing good for us? She's like, oh, so I'm a bad mom. Okay, that's fine. You'll regret your words one day. She then hangs up on me and refuses my calls and texts my sister telling her she's not going to talk to me. So I texted her and told her the one that's going to regret her words is you, and you'll be sorry for picking a man over your children. The day you learn to not put a man on a pedestal is the day you'll get your blessings. It's a serious mental problem to be so attached to a man. That I love her, but I know she's not okay by doing what she's doing. She's now no longer talking to me and only contacts my siblings. Am I the a-hole, or was this a reality check my mom needed? Edit: since I didn't include their ages in the original post, my siblings are 10 male, 13 male, and 15 female. In case you're wondering my mom's age, she's 40, and her new husband is about late 50s. I'm not entirely sure his exact age. Their dad is 38. For those wondering where their dad is, he is still in the picture, but he also has a new partner. He comes to visit them once or twice a week sometimes and buys them food and clothes. He is supposed to be giving my mom child support, but he's not always very timely about it. I also want to acknowledge my mom does contribute financially to them still. The only issue is she is not here physically with them as often as she should be. Not the a-hole, and honestly your mom needed to hear that. It sounds like you're stepping up in a situation where your mom is neglecting her responsibilities, and that's not fair to you or your siblings. Her excuse about your siblings not appreciating her because they play video games is honestly ridiculous. Kids play games. That doesn't mean they don't love or miss their mom. They're children, and it's her job as their parent to be present, even if they aren't showering her with gratitude 24/7. It feels like she's using that as an excuse to justify prioritizing her husband over her kids. It's a CPS story waiting to implode. Parents, especially custodial parents, are expected to reside with their minor children. It's so beyond an argument. It's criminal negligence. This is not okay, and it's also making you responsible when you're a young newlywed. This is not fair to the kids or you, but thank you for being there for your siblings. I hope she opens her eyes and realizes she isn't doing them any good. Not the a-hole. I'd say that her husband made it clear that he didn't want her kids living with them, so she got you to move in so she could move out. She's at least going to have to pay you child support if you choose to bring up your siblings in the long term. As you and your husband are so young, is he okay suddenly being dad to 3 kids? If he's not, I'd be asking your mom's sister or other family members to step in and either convince your mom that child abandonment is illegal or take the kids themselves if they can. My husband fortunately does not mind, since he hasn't really taken the role of dad. He is more of an older brother to them. His only issue is the obvious stress and disappointment my mom's absence has caused. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not supporting my ex-best friend after my brother put her in the hospital? My brother was a prick to me my whole life. He's 2 years older and blamed me for his dad leaving. We have different dads. We were raised by my mom, who was very much checked out, and that made me an easy target. He wished me dead, called me a whore. He got other kids to bully me in school, and every chance he got, he told me he wished I wasn't his sister. I had a best friend through all that, Sammy. Her dad and siblings were also really great, and they took me in as a family because they knew mine sucked. When we were 16, Sammy betrayed me in the worst way by starting to date my brother. I told her I'd never forgive her. She tried to make it seem like I was the bad guy, and how dare I tell her who she could and couldn't date. She knew what my brother was like, and still went and dated him. I had to pull away from her family because I couldn't be around her, but I did tell her dad. Sammy hated me for it because her dad did everything to get her away from my brother. I got a call a couple of weeks ago and it was Sammy's dad. My brother put Sammy in the hospital and her dad wanted to give me a heads up in case my brother tried to come for me. Sammy tried to reach out, but when I realized it was her calling, I shut it down. She kept trying and I ignored and blocked her. She had her sister reach out, and while we were talking, she took the phone off her sister and she told me she needed me. I told her to go to hell. A few more attempts were made, and then one of her siblings called while Sammy was there, and they asked me how I could do that. And shouldn't I understand what my brother is like and be there for the girl who was there for me until she made a mistake? I said there was no coming back from it, and I refused to believe she was manipulated. That it was an easy cop-out, and I owe her nothing. They tried to insult me, but I ended the call and blocked that number. I've had a long list of blocked numbers the last couple of weeks. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She went into that relationship with her eyes wide open, knowing damn well how cruel he was to you, and now you're supposed to pick up the pieces for her? Nope. She made her choices and has zero right to drag you back in his BS. Her circus, her monkeys. She literally became a bully when she started dating your brother. Invalidating you like that and dating an abusive person which she knew about is irredeemable. And to try to reach out to you? The nerve. How are you supposed to comfort her if she is part of your trauma? That was really just the worst betrayal. I came to live with you and you started dating one of the reasons I came to live with you. Shaking my head. Despicable. Nope. COP, here's the thing. You didn't say, I told you so, to her. So by definition, I think you're in the clear. Your former best friend dated your vile, abusive bully of a brother, knowing full well how he was. Try to make you the bad guy, and then has the nerve to come back to you after everything. Nah, not the a-hole. Just curious though, you said her dad was fully on your side throughout this. What did he say about this whole situation? Well, we didn't talk for years because of this. He felt sick that his daughter was dating someone like my brother, and he apologized for what he did. He also said he would always be there if I needed something, but he understood I had to pull away because I couldn't be around her. Has he said anything about the current situation? Like about how his daughters are verbally abusing you for not wanting to contact? He only called to give me the heads up. We didn't talk after that. I'm not even sure if he knows about it. Having her sister harass you shows what kind of person she really is. You can always tell a person's character by how they act when they don't get what they want. How is your relationship with your parents? I don't have one. Never met my dad, and my mom was pretty awful herself and just didn't care. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my daughter if she goes back to her ex, I will not support her? My daughter is 26. Her ex-husband was abusive. They dated for 3 years before getting married a year ago. My ex-son-in-law changed after he married my daughter. I didn't even know about any of this until my daughter told me everything. After she got married, he abused my daughter financially and emotionally, and sometimes physically. I don't really want to go through everything, but he is a POS who literally ruined my daughter. My daughter told me everything 2 months after she got married. I encouraged her to fight for her rights, but she said she just wants to get away and doesn't want to fight. I didn't force her and had to pay a huge amount to get her a clean divorce. My daughter was broke. She lost her job and she's been living with us since then. My daughter has been depressed all these months and she spends most of her time with me and her mother. She cuddles with us both, she vents, she tells us what she went through, and me and my wife just listen to her and try not to get angry. But my wife is always sad and tells me multiple times to take care of her. She makes me promise that I will take care of our daughter. I assure her, but she's feeling what she's feeling, as I am and my daughter is, and I can't do anything to change that. But a week ago, my daughter told us that she's been talking to her ex and has been apologizing to her and wants to get back with her. We were surprised, and we try to tell her that we understand you love him, but he doesn't. But my daughter wouldn't listen and said she wants to get back with him and give him another chance. My wife started crying and told me to talk to her, and she left to our bedroom. I told my daughter that he can't change. Those people never do. Don't put yourself through what you already went through and your family did. My daughter said she wants to give him another chance. I tried everything. I said everything I could, but she didn't listen to me. When I had enough, I told her if she wants to be with him again, then that's her decision. But I wouldn't be able to help her again because I am already drained, and I still have to think about retirement and take care of her mother. She cried and hugged me. I told her that I am with her. I think about her, but I also have to think about her mother. She's suffering as well. My daughter didn't say anything, just hugged me and cried, ate, and went to sleep. And she started avoiding us both and stopped interacting. She just hugs us and go back to her room. When I told my wife what I said to our daughter, she got angry at me and said I shouldn't have said what I said. I should have been polite and helped her, but I made it even worse. I told her that she should have talked to her instead, and my wife also has been angry with me ever since. So, am I the a-hole here? Did I do something wrong? I just want to help and protect two women I love the most. I did everything in my power to help them, but now they are treating me as if I am the source of their suffering. You should advise your daughter to read Why Does He Do That by Lindy Bancroft before she gets back with her ex. It describes the cycle of abuse and the types of abusers, and could be a great tool to help her truly realize the gravity of her situation. You can find free PDF versions of it online. And get her into therapy if it's financially viable. This is a good example of the abuse cycle. It goes like this: tension, incident, reconciliation, and calm. She has gone through the calm when they first got together. Then there was tension. Then a certain incident where she moved out and moved in with you. Now the ex is love bombing, saying he has changed and things will be great. And they will be for a while. Then the tension will creep in and then there is some incident. And boom, she's back home. She is angry with you because she wants to believe that everything is going to be good and that this cycle doesn't exist. But you can see the writing on the wall. It will get back to where it was. It is easy to blame other people, not yourself. That is why you pointing out that they are not good for each other brings their wrath to bear. At this point, all you can do is be there to pick up the pieces. One strategy of abusers is to isolate them from source of support, so if they try to leave, they have no place to go. Exactly. You need to be there for the next time because there will be a next time. Maybe suggest that you would be more supportive if they do couples therapy before any major decisions such as moving back in together. In any regards, your daughter needs therapy to get over the abuse and regain a self-worth that has been taken from her. And what is your wife doing other than complaining? The daughter inherited her immature character from her mom for sure. OP sounds like he is babysitting two grown kids.